Okay, Keenan says, is the certified information system auditor necessary to obtain a compliance role? No. Would it be appropriate to work to get towards a IT auditor position, then compliance role? I would say, honestly, Keenan, it depends on where you're at. It depends. So his question was, is the CISA, or the certified by Osaka, it's called the Certified Information System Auditor. Very good certification, by the way. Very lucrative certification that many auditors and assessors get, especially in the financial space. He says, is it necessary to get that for a compliance role? No, it's not. There's a couple of other better ones, but it kind of depends. Like if you're in the financial space, it's a really good one to get, actually. Let me back up a little bit. It depends on what industry you're in. Because I can tell you this, in the Department of Defense, the one you want to get if you want to be there's a couple in defense, in global security industry, in the federal government. They look very highly upon, in this order, CISSP. The CASP has risen to prominence. The CAP is good. The CAP, the ISC2 squared CAP, is a good one for federal government. Now I haven't start talking about the other industries, but I'll get to those. And then for compliance, probably Security Plus. Security Plus is not a bad one for compliance, with a bachelor's degree on all those, by the way. Bachelor's or master's degree on all those in some kind of a STEM. It can be science, technology, math, and of course computer sciences. Any one of those will do. All right, so and they're very specific because they have something called the cyber workforce documentation, where they break all those down specifically for compliance and auditors and all of that. In the federal government, for an auditor, the ones that they look to is a CISA. That's actually a good one specifically for auditors. Another one is a CEH. They look at sometimes. And then I'm trying to think of there's another one I'm not thinking. CISM. There's another one that they look highly upon for auditors. And let me just show you what I'm talking about for that one before I go on to the financial sector. Okay, this one's called cybersecurity workforce, and it's called an 8140. It used to be called 8570, but now it's 8140. And let me show you what I'm talking about. It's funny, it's like I'm the only guy talking about this, so I always pop up as like #1 on my sites. I'm surprised. I mean, it's pretty hot. So, I mean, it's worked for me. I'll just put it to you that way, to go down this little path and to map a career out of this. You could literally map a career with using the cybersecurity workforce. And many of the, let me show you my screen here. Many of the certification folks are using this. The certification people are using 8570 or 8140 cybersecurity workforce. But so these levels here are explaining what certifications that they recommend for each level and each role and things like that. And so I was talking about auditor. So this is actually updated. They do have CISA on the newer list. But here it is right here. CEH is one of them. Let me see. CISA. I know CISA is on one of these. Okay, here it is. IAT level 2. And this is not the newer one. The newer one I thought had auditor here, but I could be wrong. But yeah, here's just an example of if you're an analyst, this is the federal side, by the way. Now, if you're trying to go into, what industry are you in, by the way? You gotta tell me what industry. I could probably help you out. I could tell you this, in the financial space, like if you work for the IRS or if you work for Price Waterhouse or JP Morgan or any of those guys, they look at the CISSP very highly. They also look at the CISA, CISM. Those are highly sought after with those guys. And I don't know what other certs that they really. CRISC, I think, is another one. CRISC from Osaka is a good one that I noticed that they look at a lot. And then your other part of your question was, is it necessary? Yeah, so It depends on what industry you're going to, I would say. For federal, I can speak highly on, I could speak on federal because I've been doing it for so long, and I could say CISA is something that you would want to do for auditors. And then your other question was, would it be appropriate to work towards IT audit position, then compliance role? And I would say it depends on where you're at in experience. If you've done a lot of assessments, meaning you're in a SOC position, but you have done some assessments on systems, like meaning you've ran some scans on systems and you had to analyze that scan information, and you had to evaluate whether or not this system needs to be, how it needs to be fixed, and what priorities that you need to fix it. Is a lot of experience in assessments and auditing. And if you've done things like that, I would suggest going into auditing. If you have done policies and you've written procedures and things like that, then maybe you want to go into the compliance side. Compliance side is dealing with interpretation of security controls that need to be implemented and writing policy and the direction of the company and their security posture and things like that. Fancy words for policies, procedures, documentation, and making sure that the security on the systems is in accordance with the company's policy. Auditing is a little different. It's where you're assessing the vulnerabilities of and the risk to the organization, and then you document the risk to the organization. And so those are two different things. It depends on what you have done in your line of work.